All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody, please speak into your mic. We've had some issues with that. This is being live streamed, so please speak into your mic tonight. But we'll start with our roll call, please.
James Hawley.
Here.
Ben Meeks.
Here.
Alan Casper.
Here.
Ward Rowland. Here. Tim Cassell.
Here.
Brian Shields.
Here.
Coleman Mayhew.
Here.
Kermit King.
Here.
Steve Stallings.
Here.
John Brown.
Here.
Bert Sellers.
Here. Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to move to a moment of silence, please. All right, if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank y'all. We're going to move down to any additions or revisions to your agenda tonight.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to add a discussion on mutual aid fires.
Mutual aid fires, okay. So that'll be line item D under new
13D.
business, 13D?
13D.
Okay. Mutual aid fires. All right, any other business to be added to the agenda? I would like to add as E, this would be 13E, a discussion on the Fire and Rescue Memorial and a proposal on a piece of land we would like to make a motion to try to use. All right, any other additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to add these items to the agenda.
So move.
All right, Mr. Holly.
Second.
Second, Mr. Sellers. Roll call vote, please.
James Hawley.
Yes.
Ben Meeks.
Yes.
Alan Casper.
Yes.
Ward Rowland. Tim Cassell.
Yes.
Brian Shields.
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew.
Yes.
Kermit King.
Yes.
Steve Stallings.
Yes.
John Brown.
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We're going to move down to agenda approval. So now with the agenda you have there, we'll entertain a motion to accept this agenda.
So moved.
All right, Mr. Casper.
Second.
Second, Mr. King. Roll call vote.
James Hawley.
Yes.
Ben Meeks.
Yes.
Alan Casper.
Yes.
Ward Rowland. Tim Cassell.
Yes.
Brian Shields.
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew.
Yes.
Kermit King.
Yes.
Steve Stallings.
Yes.
John Brown.
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We're going to move down to our minutes. Take a few moments, fellas, and review your minutes, please. All right, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as they're presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
minutes.
Okay, Mr. Sells.
I'll second.
All right, Tim, second. All right, any discussion on the motion? If not, roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Castor,
Yes.
Ward Rowland,
Yes.
Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That brings us down to number 8, presentations. Chris, do we have any tonight?
We were scheduled to have 2. I did not hear anything back from the hospital, so the Danville Life Saving Crew is here for the community paramedic program.
Awesome. Come on up, gentlemen. Good to have y'all tonight.
Thank you for having us here. My name is Johnny Mills. I'm the Division Chief of the Community Health and Planning. I have with me Keith Carroll and Chief Woodall. Keith is pressing out a short presentation that we do to the board. We'll go over that in just a minute. I have a few slides. Up on the screen here is our current staff. We're fortunate enough to have 4 on staff now. This program was started in 2017. The officers of the Life Saving Crew became concerned about people that were frequently using 911. I was fortunate enough to be in a position to where they offered me to write a business model for this, something called community paramedicine at the time. I also was fortunate enough for the Life Saving Crew to send me out to Pittsburgh, where I took community paramedicine program, came back to Danville and built a business model that we presented to the Life Saving Crew board. They were very much in favor of it, and actually a few weeks later offered me the job, and we've been here ever since. Like I said, this program started in 2017. Click it. Our primary mission is to work with patients that have chronic illnesses. Most of our patients have more than one chronic illness. These are the people that tend to tax the 911 system in the hospital. Our goals, we're not going to make them well. They have chronic illnesses. The best we can do is help them to achieve a plateau. Our mission is to make them more self-reliant on themselves and be able to take advantages of healthcare systems outside of the 911 and the emergency room. Up on the screen is our primary chronic illnesses that I have. And like I said, most of our patients have multiple chronic illnesses. And we work with, our barriers that we work with is we look at the community, we look at transportation, economics, environmental, social support, and then the individual. Go ahead, click. When we first started this program, it was primarily off of our PCRs, and it soon grew to our partners. Now we get referrals from the fire department, the police department, social services, adult protective services. We actually go out on some of their initial investigations. And then something I'll talk to in just a minute about the REACH project. We work with case management in the hospital. These are some of the services that we've provided over the years. Like I said, a lot of our patients may or may not have insurance, but we help patients get into addiction programs, mental health, social services if they need, or SNAP, help them locate a primary care physician. We look at their housing, help them find stable housing and reliable transportation. Transportation is a big issue within the city, and we also see it in the county. Doesn't do a lot if we have a doctor's appointment, but we can't get transportation to get the patient there. For the patients that are available for government insurance, we will help get that insurance. We'll help fill out the applications. For those that don't have insurances, we rely on donations for used durable equipment that we may get a hospital bed or a walker for those that can't afford it or have insurance for it. We were very fortunate last year to become part of the REACH project, and this is funded by the Danville Regional Foundation. We were able to get funding for 2 additional employees And we're part of a larger group. When you look at us as 4, we're actually about 22 people in total. It's a makeup of community paramedics, and community health workers. And for an example, for one of our patients that we're working with in the county right now, we initially went out to triage that patient, and we may transfer that patient to a community health worker, but we're all one big team, and our whole goal is to help that patient to be more self-reliant on their self and their family, and tax the 911 system less. You can switch. If you look at this handout here that Keith passed out, these are some of our calls that we had in September. That we made 106 visits. We made 233 connections and 45 services. And the connections, we're in the process of breaking down to what we call soft and hard connections. A hard connection is where I actually made the doctor's appointment for you and filled out the application for you. A soft connection is where we help you through that process and maybe give you the phone number and get the application for you, and you fill it out. It all depends on what the patient is able to do for themselves. If you look down, I won't go through all these, but we started breaking down all of our patients and where they're at is pending visits, archived, where they refuse services. We do have some people that have refused the services or their family, and we're trying to figure out what is our plan B for that. When a patient flat out refuses but still tax our 911 system. If you look on the back page, there was a couple of real success stories. We had one patient that had been in a nursing facility for almost a year and a half, and his mother called. This is a 60-year-old, and I think it was an 80-plus-year-old woman that called. The nursing home had called them and was going to let them out of the nursing home, that she'd have to come pick them. She was confined to a wheelchair. So we got involved, got to talking to the patient, and we actually connected with Adult Protective Services and come to find out they were in the process of, for lack of a better term, discharging 4 patients. And after getting the Adult Protective Services involved, we were able to resolve that, and now they will continue to be long-term residents. So that was a really good success story for us. We had another one that was pretty much the same situation, but was medically unstable. It started out to be a CP visit, and it turned into be a 911 call. After we got the patient to the hospital, we sat down with case management and brought all our notes that had expanded over a year and worked with the case management and got them back into a nursing home where they can have long-term care. That's what they needed. They didn't have anybody that was able to help them and keep them in the home. The last one, we had a patient that didn't have a hot water tank. It was a gas tank. We tried to repair people. We couldn't find anybody that would come out and do it for free. We were able to contact the Southern Agency on Aging. We actually made a phone contact with them, filled out the application, and actually got Keith to drive it up to Martinsville on a Thursday afternoon, and the lady had her hot water tank fixed by Friday afternoon. They sent a company out to replace it. So a lot of these, we have these kind of success stories every month, ranging from anywhere from just fixing physical items to helping people into nursing homes or to help them into a primary care physician or a specialist. Does anybody have any questions for me about this program? I will say that right now we have, I think, 8 patients in the county that we are servicing. A lot of them have come from their primary care physician or referral. We do have 2 that are coming from Chris that we're working with right now. And I, hope to have good success. This whole program is built around a person that wants to be helped. If they don't want our help, it makes it very difficult, if not impossible. We have had some, what I would call real hard cases that initially didn't want our help, but eventually came around, and we have some that, we still are on standby if they want our help. Yes.
Are these people that you're serving, are they mostly Danville residents, or is that in Taylor County residents also?
They're mostly Danville. Just within the last month and a half, I think, Chris has been included in the weekly newsletter, so we're starting to get calls from the county. Our program is designed to cover the city of Danville in Pittsylvania County. We do have dedicated personnel to go out into the county.
Does any other agencies work with y'all on this, or y'all do this by yourself? Is this something that Danville Life Saving Crew is doing on its own?
Well, we're part of the REACH project. So if you look, it's about 20 healthcare agencies that are in total. We don't have any EMS agencies that are currently working with us. But, we're partnered with SOVA, PAVS, Gateway, Compassion over in Caswell County, Danville, Pennsylvania County Community Services. They all have community health workers stationed in their facility that are part of our project. So we may go out to Chatham, and we may go out as a group. It may be a person from PAVS and a person from the Life Saving Crew to work with that patient.
Is this personnel support, or do you get financial support from them also?
This project is funded through the Danville Regional Foundation, and our program, the Danville Life Saving Crew program, is funded through 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, half of it is. We were fortunate enough to get two employees. Keith and I are funded through the Life Saving Crew. When we first started, we saw enough in cost savings when you compare rolling a truck at $250 an hour for a 45-minute call, and that was before we started going on diversions. It was a lot cheaper for us to send Keith or I out and see multiple patients and make a difference. Anytime we can keep a truck available, it's a cost savings to us. It makes that truck available for an emergency.
Okay, that's all I have. Thanks for what you do.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess, great presentation. Thank y'all for coming tonight. And this is good. I guess one question I had is, it says pending visit 177, which is 43%. So is that people y'all are waiting to still go see that you haven't made contact with yet?
Yeah, when about 85% of our calls or our patients come off of our ESO system. I have a program built to pull those out. And that's if they trip 2 calls within a month.
Right.
Okay, so once they trip that, they go through a triage method internally. We look at their chronic illnesses, their frequency of calls, and then we triage them. How do we go out and when do we go out? Keep in mind, a lot of this, it was just Keith at one point, and now I got 3 people and 4 vehicles, so we saw a significant improvement in what we were able to see from this month to last month.
And I guess that's the other thing for this body and Director Key is how can we help get it out there? How can we help? You said you have 8 patients in the county. That's great. But, we've got 65,000 people in the county. It's got to be more out there. Now, you made a good point is Refuse Services is, 48 people, and that's unfortunately a lot of times what you run into.
Yes.
But, how can we help get it out there?
I think the first step was putting it into the newsletter, and I think we kind of got, right now I'm getting referrals through Chris. We can keep doing that. You guys would have to kind of work that out internally, how you want to make the referrals to us. I'd rather have it come from a single point of contact if possible.
Absolutely.
That way, when I do monthly reports, I'm not sending it out to multiple people that may get something they shouldn't have gotten. But our plan was to be able to do monthly reports on the patients that are referred to us from the county, fire, and EMS. And like I said, you know, let the EMS folks know that, you know, we're out here and we're available to help if needed.
I guess that's the biggest thing, just keep educating and trying to put it out there. You know, I mean, I don't know if we could put it, you know, a postcard and send it out, or like they've done with this school tax thing, they're looking at doing the 1%, but I think it's an important program that people need to know that's out there, and that can, you know, offer help that sometimes you look like you're against a wall, you don't, and that's for the EMS agencies and for the individual, the patient.
Yes, exactly.
And sometimes you don't know where to turn. So this is a program.
Most of it's going to come from the EMS agencies, you know, referring the patients to me, and then I can refer them to them through the, you know, through email. It's best to have the definite information on it, so the more I can give to Johnny, the better it'll be.
So Chief Neal, will you just make sure that gets passed back to the association? You know, try to, because obviously you probably want the fire chiefs or the EMS
They've
chiefs.
already presented at the association meeting a couple months back.
Good deal.
So, yeah, it's out there. It's just, you know, the agency's got to pass it along to the providers to make sure everybody knows, you know, if you run across that patient that you see needs a help above and beyond what we can do, we need to go to Johnny about it.
So he said he's got 8 patients in the county. Have you had more feedback than that, though?
No.
That's not, okay, yeah.
And if it comes down to, you know, if you would like us to go to a EMS agency to speak on this, we'd be glad to, because like I said, getting the word out is important. It will tax our system, but it will also give us an opportunity to grow.
Right.
And I think that's very important.
Yeah, I would love to include other agencies in it, but I don't want to sign them up for something additional, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions? The gentleman.
Thank you for coming.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. All right, Director Key, you said the other presentation, the budget.
I never heard anything back from the hospital.
Okay, all right. Okay, we will move down to hearing of the citizens. We have any signed up?
No, sir.
All right. Moving down to item 10, Fire and Rescue Association report. Chief Neal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Meeks. Dean's in his city tonight, so it's Vice Chairman, Vice President of the Fire Association. I'll be taking his seat tonight. So 3 things I'll go over real quick, and then I noticed in the new business on the agenda is return to active volunteer policy, and I'll go over that. We worked that out at the Fire Association meeting last Wednesday night, and I have that paper with me. So the first thing I'm going to say is I'm glad to see Johnny and Robert Woodall and Keith Carroll here tonight presenting this program, okay? I think it's a very good program. And basically what come out of his mouth when he stood there was that the life-saving crew, Downward Life-Saving Crew, concerned over people frequently use 911, okay? So I'm just a local country boy, probably not too smart, but as I can recall, 16 months ago, I sit in that chair, that man right there sitting in, Chris Key, go back and play the tape if you want to play it. And I brought it up that we would like to see public safety in our county, which has just really got going good and doing a good job, to look at people, and if you wanted to call them people frequently use the system or frequent flyer or, you know, whatever. I mean, it's different names. There's nothing bad toward that person. I would like to see our public safety get involved with it. And in response to that, they did get involved with it some. I know Mike Lee, who used to be with the county public safety, and Casey, who is still with the public safety, in our area and even in a couple more areas, they went out and talked to some people, and you're not going over and telling them, hey, don't call 911. I mean, this person's calling twice a week, 3 times a week with breathing issues. Do they need oxygen at home? They don't have it. Are they falling? Do they need a walker? Do they need a cane? Do they need a different stairway to get in the house, a ramp, whatever? You're not criticizing them. You know, like Mr. Mills said, you're trying to help them and assist them through different programs. So that's what I brought up 16 months ago. I gave an example. We had 10 calls that day, which I think all of y'all would say is a whole lot for volunteer rescue. I think we hit 8 out of 10. Medic 3, got backup truck in the county, run the other 2. Anyway, it got twisted around the next meeting, and I'm not going to go into that, but all y'all remember all that. But that's basically 16 months ago. It was 99.9% what I said. And I think everybody would agree with me. So I just want to thank y'all for being here. And I had a question or two with Chris. You know, like I say, you don't need me calling you and Lee Barker calling you and Kevin White calling you. You know, you need one person from the county, which will be our public safety director, to call and say, hey, we need some help with this person in the Hurt area, the Brownsville area, Ringo area, Renan area, whatever. And you're not going to chastise them, but hopefully you can help them, help the health situation and blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to mention that first, and I appreciate y'all being here. That's the thing we kicked around a long time ago, and they have been implementing it some since then, or still are. I know Scott and Casey are still going out some prior to this event here tonight. Second thing is, I want to thank everybody, and basically public safety. You know, I don't hear them get knocked. I mean, the volunteer and public safety got to work together. So a few months ago, we didn't have a meeting last month, I don't think. Well, a few weeks ago, they had the event at VIR in Halifax County, and had basically what we had on the mountain last year's the Blue Ridge Fest, the festival, whatever it was. And of course, you always prepare for the worst and hope for the best, okay? So that particular weekend, we manned our station pretty much 24/7, from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, doing a stipend type manning. And Chris had called me, and we knew what happened on the mountain last year. Of course, that's the first time anything like this has been around, so you not really know what you're going to run into. And it worked out, I guess, using the fairgrounds for parking and whatever. We was figuring the Milton Road was going to be blocked the whole time, 58 be blocked to Danville the whole time. They actually had signs blinking on 58 below the airport, you know, heavy traffic ahead, event ahead, and blah, blah, blah. So Chris called me. They brought the mass casualty trailer down to Ringgold Station. We put it in a building, and that trailer, most of you, if you don't know, consists of about 30 backboards and, you know, a lot of extra medical equipment, head blocks, stuff like that. You know, we have a big bus wreck, something like that, or you got a whole lot of wrecks going on where you maybe have 10 or 12, 15 patients at one time. So they had that manned at our station, and also Chris and Scott Hudson and Casey, a day or two, they came down and helped stand by, because it was several times we was having, you know, 2 and 3 calls at one time on that. But luckily, Milton Road was never blocked out that I saw. 58 was never blocked out that I saw. We did not answer one motor vehicle crash from Wednesday to Sunday, from say the county limit to Milton intersection, and from the Milton Road into the town of Milton. There was no accident. So all that worked out pretty smooth, but we was prepared for the worst. Now, we did run 33 calls in 3 or 4 days, which I know ain't a lot to y'all, but it is to us, okay? So anyway, that worked out good, and I just wanted to give a special thanks out to our public safety for looking ahead, preparing ahead with even that personnel, and they offered a truck we needed, and this, and that, and the other. So Scott and Chris and Casey, thank y'all for all that y'all done on that. So, you know, the old saying, you plan ahead, you usually stay ahead of the game if you don't wait till it happens and then react to it. So we set that up ahead, and everything worked out good. So again, thank you, and there was no major issues there. Also, second thing, the next thing I wanted to mention, Hurricane Ian. I don't think we met since then, and we had a little article in the paper. I think it was in the Star Tribune, and I just wanted to say thanks, and I know a lot of other people have already. So that event came through, and as y'all know, I mean, from Florida up, it tore some stuff up. It's people today are still pitiful that got hit by this, and there's a lot of lives lost. And it actually, you know, it slapped through Myrtle Beach, come up the coast, and Saturday afternoon, here we are sitting here in Virginia and Pennsylvania County. The winds were whipping 30 to 40, gusting to 50. We had heavy rains. And again, I think all the stations in the county were manning our stations. These were volunteer firefighters and EMS people, okay? And we manned all these stations. I know at one time, all 21 stations this county was out, all 21 stations and rescue squads. And I actually talked to Ronnie at dispatch, sort of just for curiosity. From about Saturday morning to Sunday afternoon, the county was dispatched to 165 calls. which is a pretty good chunk of calls. 97 of them were related on the fire end, and that involved, we had trees down in houses, trees down on double wides, we had trees across the road, we had trees on cars, we had people running over trees in the yards and the roads. Even our mini pumper run over one in the road, done minimal damage. We ran into all that stuff, and then electricity, electrical wiring down. One time it was 13,000 people out of power in the city in Pennsylvania County, and some of them lasted for 3 or 4 days before they got it back. So I just want to put a special shout out that our volunteers were out there and ran the calls, and I know y'all had a pile in Danville too, so you couldn't do without your volunteer fire and rescue for what they've done. 165 calls, pretty good chunk in that day and a piece right there. So again, thank you, and the main thing is thank you, good Lord, everybody came home safe.
Thank you, Chief Neal. All right, we're going to move down to county staff reports. Director Key.
All right, first up, I'm going to remind everybody of the ARPA funding. We still have got 3 departments still working on projects. Reminder just to get their paperwork turned in so we can get the money to you. If you want to, we'll skip over the second part for the mutual aid agreements. We'll come back around to that if you want. Solar farm training, we're waiting on approval from the solar farm for the next session of solar farm training. Hopefully, possibly, will be November the 8th at the Gretna Fire Department. I'm waiting on approval back from them. I'd like to announce Scott Hutcherson as the Deputy Director. Congratulate him on the job and going through the process. Also, Battalion Chief Gage Randall. He's been promoted to new Battalion Chief in the Public Safety. I was in the process of sending in or submitting the paperwork for this controlled substance registry, and held off on it to meet with you, Ben, before, so we could do that simultaneously. I went actually to do that the other day, and then I was like, nah, I need to wait on you.
That.
Yes, definitely. Also, all the service agreements for all fire rescue agencies have been signed and turned in, and the first disbursements have been sent out. Additionally, I just want to remind everybody of the 4 for Life funding for EMS agencies. It's $5,600+ it's out there to go ahead and to spend it, turn in your receipts for it. Also, the ATL money for the Virginia Fire programs has been sent out for this year. That's a little bit over $10,000 for each agency. And the last is the radio PMs are continuing this week. This is the last week of the radio preventative maintenance on the whole system. We've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday left this week. Also remind everybody that if any of the agencies haven't got some of theirs done, to try to catch up with Daniel or Jason as quick as they can to try to get them completed. As of today, I think we had done right at 700 radios, but in saying that, we're still missing about 100 people that have not turned the radio in to get the updates and everything put into it. So,
is there a deadline on that where if they don't get them updated, you guys are just going to cut them off, disable them?
That's sort of going to be up to each chief of the agency as to whether or not they want to cut them off. I don't know, maybe there's some members that are out of town working, or their schedules didn't work with what ours did. Just, try to work and get it in as quickly as we can, get the preventative maintenance and the upgrades done on them. We haven't set a deadline. I just don't want to turn them off without, each chief's permission.
Right. So. Okay. And did you want to go back to the mutual aid agreements?
I thought y'all had brought that up in the new business.
He was, you talking about Mr. Kings?
Yes.
No, that was mutual aid fire. I think he's talking about the statistics and calls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's different subject matter.
Okay, all right, nothing's really changed. The mutual aid agreements we're trying to go county to county with. The city of Danville and Henry County, we've completed both of those. Haven't heard anything back from Halifax, Franklin, Bedford, or Campbell County. All of them I have been in contact with, sent paperwork out. They all have said okay, and then I haven't seen anything back since. So just a continuous process to try to update those county to county to make it easier.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Chris? All right, if not, we're going to move to unfinished business. Do you have any unfinished business? One thing looking back in the old minutes here that I wanted to bring light to, under Fire and Rescue Association report, it was asked 2 months ago, because we didn't have a meeting last month. This is the final thing in reference to the diversions and holding of ambulances at the hospitals. Can we ask the county attorney to research the law and looking for an ending to this problem? And obviously, we was hoping the representative was going to be here from SOVA tonight, but they're not. Has there been any legwork on that?
Myself, Mr. Mundy, and Mr. Ingram met with the hospital on diversions. They had said they had gone through and offered all the students at DCC they could opportunities to pay their tuition to come to work for the hospital. The problem is, it's one of the classes, there's nobody in the class. So at that point, we're going to see another lapse in nursing. The medical field is struggling right now.
All right. Any other unfinished business? If not, we will move down to new business. It's supposed to be Board of Supervisors Communications, but Mr. Ingram is still in closed session on another meeting. So, do you have anything?
If he comes in, we'll let him speak.
All right. We're going to move down to item B, the return to active volunteer policy update. This will be Chief Neal.
Okay, this was brought up, I think, a few months by the Board of Supervisors concerning if you had a volunteer, fire or EMS, go down, what program we had in place to return them to work, basically, just like you, I guess, working a public job. So what we decided and came up with, committee was appointed through the Fire Association. Carolyn Jarrett, who's the chief of Brownsville Fire and Rescue, she was the chairman, and they had got together. So at our last meeting last Wednesday night, and we basically used a form that Callan's Fire and Rescue pretty much had in place, and our chief also was on this committee too, and basically says assessment for return to duty. And so what we're looking at, if we have a firefighter or EMS person goes down on a call, I'm just saying Joe Blow fell off a ladder and broke his ankle, okay, on a structure fire. He would have to go through the process, the hospital, fill out the VFIS insurance forms, which we've recently had one inside of a house fire, and or even if you had an illness or a medical condition that you had, say big time heart attack, a bypass, or whatever you was running into, maybe seizures where you can't drive for 6 months. I'm just throwing some of this out there. But anyway, it was for protection of the person, the fire department, the fire chief, and even the county. So Chris Key was at the last meeting when we run this through. So basically with the Callan's Fire and Rescue assessment from return to duty, it basically just has the person's name, the injury that they had, illness they had, requested by the chief officer of what department, blah, 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 and they sign it and date it. Now, when it comes back, and I've ran into this one time, so when I have a member that comes back and tells me, hey, I'm ready to go back or whatever, it basically runs on what they call a level of release. And, he's going to be on administrative leave, a lifting capacity, 25 pounds or less or whatever, or you're going to be in a support group to help for a while, or you back to full active duty. So these sheets we're going to get to each department, and of course you put your department name on them, and basically it talks about the fire side and the EMS side and what they can do, what they cannot do until they get back to full active duty. And of course they'll sign it, and the officer will sign it, and this we put on the subject's file with the department. Now, we talked to Mr. Key, and basically, I'm assuming it depends on the situation. I mean, if we have somebody got majorly hurt in the county on a call in a fire truck wreck or whatever, we have to further the paperwork on to him, we will. He basically said he wants the fire departments to get it and put it on the file at the fire station under that person's name. So we will have a record that this person, say, had an injury, even if it's at work or doing volunteer fire and rescue, and his doctor's report, we got a copy of it that said he can go back to full activity, full duty, and we'll get a copy of that and put with this person's paper that we fill out and put it in a file on his record or her record, and that way, 2 months later, if it pop up and say, hey, my back's hurting, this and that and the other, and, you got a thing here that says, well, you was relieved to full duty, or you was doing something that you shouldn't have been doing because you was just set up to be 25% of a support group or something like that. So it's basically for the patient's protection, but the department's protection too, and going further. So has anybody got any questions on that? We do have a record, a paper trail of, yes, you got hurt, here's what happened, and you're released. So is there any questions?
So this document was brought before the Fire and Rescue Association? Right.
Like I say, put a committee together, and they came back, and some departments in the county already have some type of return to duty sheet, and some don't, I'm sure. But we have a copy of this, and it was passed out in an association meeting overnight to each person. So the association voted and adopted, hey, if you got somebody hurt or a bad illness, they got to fill this out and get it back to the chief to go on that file, to release them to come back to work.
Is it, and I'm not trying to create more work, I'm fine either way, Chief Neal, but is it something that we should fill out and be sending you a copy, Chris, so that, anything can happen, obviously, but that you have a record of it just in case something's brought up? Because, obviously, when we submit a claim, we have to submit it to you, and then you do your side of things. I'm just asking, because I know some people probably are thinking that. If we're going to keep them in the departments, that's fine, but I just feel like it's an important piece of paper that we're going to have to keep up with. So
you can make a copy and send it to me. I can put it in the file with the insurance paperwork.
Did the association speak on that, Chief Neal?
Yeah, well, basically, like I say, Chris was at the meeting, and, like I say, I guess his thoughts was, as long as they fill it out and get it back to the chief of what department was involved, the member was involved, or a member of, then we would put it on that person's file in our department. So I don't think Chris really said one way or the other that he need to have one, or did need or don't need to have one. Now, I'll be honest with you, this thing was floating around in the aisle, and I had one of my guys got hurt, 3 months ago. It wanted nothing to do with fire and rescue. He was out on a truck or something, jumped out or something. Anyway, broke his ankle, off duty, and it wanted nothing to do with fire and rescue. And he went through his 6 weeks, and, when he came back to us, I got him to give me a report where he went to work on his regular job. He got me a report for the firehouse that he was good, come back to Ringo and ride a fire truck or ride an ambulance and be able to do 100% of his duties with his ankle being it was healed. And I had to go to Chatham that day. I think I stopped and give it to you, didn't I, Chris? Yeah. So that's on the insurance file. It won't file through the county, nothing like that, but it was an incident that's on my guy's file, so I give it to him. So it's up to y'all. I just think, my personal opinion, this would be my personal opinion. If I had somebody sick, just was sick outside the department, if I had some heart issues, or just like the example I gave you, Joe Blow fell down the steps at home, broke his leg, and he brought me something back from the doctor saying he was totally released and he could ride Ringo's fire truck, I would say keep it in my building in his file. I'm covering our department and myself, my board of directors, and him. I would, if y'all would think it'd be a good motion, I can't make a motion here, but I would throw it out there. I would say if it was a county-involved incident where a subject got hurt fighting fire, say for the county, or they was on an ambulance that got hurt, or if you was on a vehicle that had an accident and you had to go to the hospital, maybe to better cover the county, we would still do the same thing through our department. But I would say maybe public safety, probably in my opinion, it would be good to have it on record that, hey, Joe Blow was in a wreck in his fire truck 6 months ago and he's back okay to ride it again, but I need a copy for his file, or the insurance file in the county, being the county had to pay for it, that he's okay to ride again. I'm just saying that.
So you're saying if it's basically a line of duty incident?
Right.
Yeah, makes sense.
So the assessments for return to duty, and like I say, it mentions injury and it mentions illness, okay? So a lot of time illness is not going to be something that, you know, you went ahead and called a cold. But I'm just saying at the end of the day, if the subject got hurt and had to file with Pennsylvania County Insurance, if you had to file with that insurance, in my opinion, I think it'd be a good idea for public safety to have a copy of it to at least go in the insurance file.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's a good idea because it's going on their insurance, and this is going to protect the individual, the agency, and the county. So, and did we need a motion to accept this, what they've presented, or? I mean, obviously, and if Mike decides that that's his motion to add that to it, but because usually it's a, you know, a motion in the packets. I didn't know.
Yeah, you're going to need that, the return to active duty, you're going to need that as a motion to
Okay.
accept that, because that's a form that's coming into the program.
Okay.
And if he wants to designate it, like you said, if they're injured on the job or as a volunteer, then they need to submit this to the chief, and the chief submit a copy to me also.
Okay, and just for clarification for everybody, is the SOP here that form going to be attached with the SOP that's in this document? Is that still standing?
That's why I sent it all together. I know the assessment for return to duty, it still has Callan's at the top, but I want everybody to see what they had presented.
Okay.
And then we can, you know, finalize the finishing up of the paperwork. So.
Okay, and Donna, with the secretary with the association, sent copies of this as well today to all the chiefs and agencies, if y'all check your emails. Yeah. All right, so any other questions on this, or we'll entertain a motion to accept it. Mike, was that your motion earlier? I didn't mean to go away from you. I apologize.
I'm just making a recommendation from the Pennsylvania County Fire Chiefs Association. That's what we would like for the commission to adopt.
Okay.
So I'm assuming one of y'all put it in the motion. One of you.
I make a motion that we follow the association's recommendation.
Okay. And just for a point of clarification, Mr. Holly, does that include sending a copy of the document to public safety if it's a line of duty injury?
If it's a line of duty injury.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we got a motion on the floor. Here a second.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair King. Any further comments or concerns on the motion? If not, roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland,
Yes.
Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That motion carries. We're down to item C under 13, new business. This will be change of bylaws, commission meetings. So if you guys refer to the back of your packet, as a copy of the bylaws is attached. And this is going to be under 6.1 under meetings. The discussion, just to let you guys know, it's a minor change here, but it would affect the night we meet. So before, when we first started this up, we were kind of trying to learn, and Chris was new to his position, and obviously I was new to this. So we were trying to piece together the agendas for each meeting, and that time frame has gotten smaller and smaller because now, it's my understanding, all of our agendas have to be approved by the county attorney before they can be sent out. And Chris has to put them in this fancy, nice document that everybody gets early so you can review them. But he has a time frame. He has to have that submitted so it can be reviewed and then put out in the document. And the association had moved their meeting so that it would follow the board meeting. So the board has their meeting on Tuesday night, which would have been last week. The association's on Wednesday night. Well, before I could get anything I wanted on the agenda to Chris, by Thursday, he had to really work fast, but he could get it out. Well, now that's not doable. They want it on Monday. And Chris worked with us on this meeting because I didn't realize that to get it out for us, but I can't get it out on Monday and I can't get it out on Tuesday or Wednesday because it's not fair to the association or the Board of Supervisors because our meetings play off of their meetings as well, right? You know, we have things that needs to be brought up, discussed in here. So I just wanted to entertain some discussion tonight and see if you guys would be willing to change our meeting night to back it up or move it forward, whatever we need to do to make sure that we give the association, the board of supervisors ample time to have their meetings, and then also Director Key and the county attorney time to put our agendas out. And Chris, you can add to that if I...
Yeah, and see, the whole packet's getting ready to change in January of how we assemble it. So we're going to a different computer program. So that's a severe learning curve on my part, so I'm having to learn that. So, you know, I need more time to get it together. The packet now states that I'm supposed to have paperwork submitted 10 days in advance to go on the agenda. And, you know, we're getting it like 3 and 4 days in advance. So we've got to come up with some way of getting a little bit more time.
So any ideas, guys, on when y'all would like to move the meeting to?
And plus, we need to make sure this room is available for whatever meeting night we may choose.
I'm looking on my phone, guys, at the meeting nights, so don't think I'm doing anything else. Let's see here.
Ben, I think that would be up to you and Mr. Key to come up with the meeting. Y'all know more about what to do. All of us can vote on a different night, but it's still contingent on y'all.
Right.
I agree with that also, that y'all know how much time you're going to need and, you know, which Tuesday we meet. As far as I'm concerned, I'm open to that.
So, Director, if we moved it to the first Tuesday of the month, just looking, and obviously, you know, we would start that probably in December because the first Tuesday is next week. But if we moved it yeah, we'll come back, guys, and talk for a few minutes. But if we moved it to the first Tuesday, would that be enough time in between? Because they would have their meetings, association and the board, and then obviously if any of you guys, and I wanted to put that out there, if any of y'all ever have anything, I know I don't do the best job of calling y'all and seeing if you have anything. I apologize, but if you have anything ever you want on the agenda, you can let Chris know or let me know, and I'll make sure it gets on there. But would that suffice for you, Chris?
Does anybody meet in here on the first Tuesday?
That's going to be the only question. I've got to make sure, you know.
Yeah, I guess the planning commission I thought meet on first Tuesday.
Okay.
Because there's somebody here about every Tuesday.
That's what I was worried about.
If I'm correct.
We may have to move it to a different night, maybe a Thursday.
What about the first Monday then? I mean, I'm not opposed to Mondays as long as no one else is. Yeah. But I mean, I want it to work for you guys because I don't want to hinder y'all. I mean, I know y'all said it's between me and Chris, but you guys make up the body. So
That'll rule Mike Neal that for Monday Night Football.
Well,
first Monday will not work for me.
First Monday will not work. All right.
Ben, let me just say, I don't know, would the second week work for anybody? I'm just saying, I know a lot of the fire departments in the county, we meet the first Thursday night.
We do too.
And a lot of the people meet the first Monday and first Tuesday. I'm just wondering, is that going to conflict a lot of your fire departments, you know, in the first week? I don't think none of your fire departments really meet on second, third week, do they? Matt, when y'all meet? Third Thursday. Troy? Second Tuesday. Well,
So
it sounds like everything's scrambled then.
yeah. So what if we move it to the second Monday? Because that way, because we said already, this room's pretty much.
Looks like we're going to have to move toward the end of the week.
I told you it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Well,
It's tough.
What about a Thursday? I mean, is that going, I know a lot of people, sometimes they go out of town early, but is that going
What about
to get away from the first of the week? And
Yeah. What about the second Thursday? First Thursdays do not work for me. I have a business meeting that night. I'm obligated to. Second Thursday. Going once. Is that anybody in here on second Thursday? If so, just tell them we'll split the room. They get on that side, we'll get on this side. All right. I make a motion to amend the bylaws to change our meeting night to the second Thursday of every month at 6:30.
second, since I brought it up.
All right. Second by Mr. King. Any other further discussion? And I'm sorry, guys, to throw that monkey wrench at y'all, but I did not feel like it was fair to Chris. I didn't feel like it was fair to me, and I didn't feel like it was fair to the board or the association because then we would be meeting and we wouldn't know, we wouldn't be able to get things on the agenda that they have concerns or they have questions about, and that's what we're here to represent, is our fire and rescue of the county, and to be that liaison between the two parties. So,
Will it start in November?
that's up to you guys. Do y'all want, that would put us having another meeting in 2 weeks. I'm not opposed to that.
No, we don't need to do that.
Yeah, let's just do it December. Is everybody cool with that? We'll start this in December. And there will be no November meeting. All right, so we got a motion and a second.
Well, Mr. Chairman, before we, while we're in discussion, can she read that motion back just to make sure we all on the same page?
The motion's for the second Thursday of the month at 6:30 in this room.
Same time.
Same time. All right.
Is it going to be every other month or every month? The
I would-
bylaws state every other month. on the odd
Bylaws
month.
every odd month. Is that correct?
Yes.
But it is discretion, right, is the way they're wrote. It doesn't say we have to do it every other month. I believe it's discretion, because I know we don't have business every month, but I would not like to get so disconnected to where, I feel like we hadn't met in months, and it's only been we only missed one meeting this go around. And you look how long we've been here already, so.
It just states at a minimum.
Yeah, that's a minimum, so I take that as interpretation that that's the minimum, we can go above that. So I think, my opinion, y'all's meeting, y'all's bylaws, but my opinion, that's fine, and we'll just continue having them monthly unless there's nothing to put on the agenda. Then we'll just skip to the next month. Because I feel like I'm cheating people if we don't have a meeting. That's my opinion. All right, any other discussion? Roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That brings us down to D. Okay. Yeah, we'll go back. All right, thank you, Vice Chair. Mr. Ingram, welcome to the party. Glad to have you tonight, sir. We're going to actually back up, if it's okay with everybody. Item A, Board of Supervisors Communications. So, Board Chairman, yours.
Good to be here. I really don't have anything. Just thank you guys for serving, and sorry I'm late, but had other pressing business. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that'll put us back down to D. This is going to be mutual aid, fires and cost statistics, and I'm going to yield the floor to Vice Chair King.
Well, it's been kind of brought to my attention, and we've talked about this a couple of times in this session, I know, but it keeps kind of coming up again and again about on the fire side, we're not getting any credit for the mutual aid calls that we run, and now with everybody's budgets being what they are, it's kind of the fuel cost is really kicking in now. Is there any way, or what can we do about that? Do you got any insight, Director Key? Or anybody here got any insight on it?
What you only do is the primary responses in the main territory that's dispatched. Same way with EMS. I can keep up with it, but it's going to put a lot of additional work on it. It's one of those things you'll have to go through every call report every day to see who all responded, and a lot of that we may not be able to keep up with because you get canceled on the calls before a lot of them get on the radio. And then are we looking at, you're going to be funded for that call as mutual aid or not? Because that's something we're going to have to totally change.
Yeah, we're just trying to we need to see what numbers kind of is out there so we'll know kind of what we're doing, But right now, everybody's just kind of keeping up with it on their own, trying to figure out, and then during the end of the year, we lose track. Because I do too. Yeah. But, I don't know, and I guess it'd be just fire that, you know, that we're looking at for is mutual aid. 'Cause now if it's on a fire call, you punch out, what, 3 agencies?
If you go 4.
4?
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's a lot of trucks on the road at one time.
It's a whole lot
And
of
I don't
pen
know
and
if it's, you know, actually, we were just up for discussion on it. And like I said, it's been up for, you know, we've talked about it or kicked it around 1 or 2 other times before, but
Not to put anybody on.
We kicked it around last year when I was on the finance committee that presented the budget to the Board of Supervisors through this committee, and that was the same response we got, Mr. Key, from Chris Limp, was that it was too much paperwork. That's the only answer we ever got for not doing it. No other reason has been presented to us other than just too much paperwork. And that gas bill's got to be paid whether you do paperwork or not. So I think y'all need to find a way to get that paperwork done, and let's try to get some money. I think Mr. King has got a very valid point here that these fire trucks got to have money to run, and it's a budget issue every year, and that's a big part of the budget.
yeah. Well, the reason
I'm behind him 100% on promoting maybe getting some more money for the mutual aid cause.
Well, the reason we was talking about it is, you know, we was talking about some of them are already a third of the way through the budget, and the fiscal year just started on field, and you know, and some of us, you know, it's drawn off of our next year's money.
Yeah, it takes just as much for those other 3 fire trucks to come to the call. Usually they fall their way. It takes more money for them to get there than it does the primary fire truck. You know, they're coming from a farther distance, so. I think we need to address it, and I don't think we can come up with an answer tonight, but
No,
I think we don't need to keep kicking the can down the road. We need to start doing something.
You're gonna have to get allocation of more money to, I mean, if that's what you're going towards.
Well, I think if we at least start tracking the numbers, we can show these board members what we're doing more accurately. I mean, I'm not saying we're not now, but we could do it better. And again, I know we're talking about fire, but it's the same principle for EMS. It happens a lot up at Gretna. Medic 1 backs us up a lot, but we also back up Medic 1 a whole lot. And I don't get credit if I'm in hurt on a call, and then I get a call in the town of Gretna, and I miss it, then I get dinged on my percentages for the year. But does public safety get dinged? I mean, you know, I'm not trying to get into that battle, but what I'm saying is it's not fair to the organizations if you're going and helping and backing up other agencies. And I think you're right on the fuel cost. You know, 18 agencies went over on the fuel last year, some a lot. And it's already, you know, some agencies it's way in the hole this year, and we just started. So, yeah, it's got to be a way we can start tracking it. I mean, there's not putting anybody on the spot, but there's some other chiefs on this board. Y'all have any input?
I've already used half of my fuel budget already this year in the first quarter. I think it needs to be tracked and somehow compensated.
Well,
Can
I
it
mean,
be tracked through the 911 center?
It is tracked, but I can't gather the data, you know, by just saying how many calls did Station 31's tanker respond to. I have to go through every call and see.
So right now it would physically have to be done almost on a daily basis, where in the CAD system they couldn't do a printout at the end of the year and say,
yeah, you'd have to pull every truck, but I mean, I tried that for last year to come up with numbers, and it wouldn't pull it like what's needed. I mean, basically, I'd have to sit down every day and go through every call for the prior day. You know,
Could you do it by station?
If we could, let's just get Mr. Key and maybe Ben, y'all talk about it and work on it some, and maybe bring something back to us that we can talk about. Mr. Ingram needs to be involved in it, because if it takes more money, the Board of Supervisors have got to be involved. So I think, you know, we're definitely not going to solve it here tonight, but I think we need to start the conversation about it tonight.
But yeah, the thing is, I mean, we just can't go up and say, hey, we need money all the time. We got to prove that we need the money.
Right.
So that's where we, you know, start working toward proving that we need the money, if we can. And I hate to put anything else on you, Chris. I promise you I do.
well, I mean, I spend about an hour a day right now going through the calls for fire and EMS.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to, you know, add another 30, 45 minutes to it at least.
Yeah, I know everybody's overworked. I promise you I do.
Well, I think Mr. Sellers is right because, you know, we need to at least go ahead and start finding a way to track the data so that we can go to the board, because we're getting ready to be back in budget talks again here very soon. And that's something that I've asked for this committee to be involved in. And that's, if you look in our mission, that's why they designed us. That's part of what we're supposed to do, is help to create the budget for fire and rescue. And I want us to be a part of that greater than we was at last go around. We were cheated out of that last time. This time I want to be a part of that. And, you know, have those discussions. And that's something that if we have the data, then we can say, you know, look, guys, this is what we're talking about. We're not just, like Mr. King said, just saying, give us more, give us more. We got something to back it up. Because we know what we're doing, but we need them to see what we're doing. You know,
and I kind of hate to throw this out there, but Chris, is it anything that the fire chiefs can do to help you assist in this process?
You show up in my office at 8:30 every morning and we'll all go through it together. Other than that, no, sir.
I didn't know whether they could compile some numbers and send them or email them to you or something to.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean, we could keep up with it, you know, and email Chris, you know, we had this, whatever, you know.
I'm just trying to figure something, you know, so everybody, you know, it'll lighten the load on everybody. I know you know, you short-staffed and,
You know, the question is it just, did this agency respond mutual aid, or did they send 3 or 4 trucks, you know? And then, you know, if you got one call and each agency is sending 4 apparatus, do you want it broke down like that, or you just want it broke down that, you know, this agency covered a mutual aid call? Because, I mean, how many tankers does Cowlins have? You know, how many engines? You know, I mean, it's really involved when you start asking for the additional response.
I believe, and Chief Neal was about to speak, and if he wants to, he can, but I believe before we go any further, we need to kick it back down to the association and let them have a chance to tell us what they would like to see. Because obviously, if it's, you know, it's being brought up as concern here, but there's other chiefs that's mentioned it, so it's some concerns there with it. And so, and we're, like I said again, repeating myself, we're getting into budget time, so if they could kind of tell us what they want to see, and we can work with them, and then we could put something forward to put towards the board come that time for the budget. I mean, Mike, do you agree with that?
Yeah, our next meeting in November, then we'll run through it and try to bring you something back. But I agree with y'all. I mean, you know, there's a lot of departments. It's what you run into, and I'm going to be honest with you, where you're at Gretna, where Blairs is, where Chatham is, a lot of these departments that are in the middle, you know, you go out more so than some of us that on some borders, but we still go out a lot, you know. Like if I get dispatched to Laurel Grove, or Kentucky, or Keelan, or Blairs, Riverbend, I don't really get credit, I guess. I'm not initial dispatch. But it's a lot of calls you run to next door neighbors that you may be the first truck there, and it's happened to all of us, and you the first truck or two there, you fight the fire, but you don't even get credit for going on paper. And that's not right. It's just like Mr. Sellers said, if I drive 8, 10, 12 miles over on these trucks, even the ambulance, backup ambulance call, you get 6 miles a gallon, my ambulances do. I mean, I'm sucking some fuel out of them. I don't even get credit for the call. So there's somewhere or another, I think, Chris, we don't really need to know this truck went, that truck went, Ringo sent a tank and 2 pumpers. I mean, if you went, then I think we ought to get credit for it. If you went. I mean,
I agree, we got to draw the line.
I'll give you second due, third due, or fourth due. If your department put apparatus on the road and it shows you on the road going, then you went. You covered the call.
Right.
Whether it's first due or second due. A lot of you second due beats your first due there anyway. It just depends. So, but we're not crediting them really. We're just letting it first due, you know, get acceptance for the call, and sometimes that's not right.
I mean, even if, you know, right now, first due, we're not counting every truck on our first due that goes. I mean, if you just get credit for answering the call, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, just get credit as you went.
Because if I send 3 trucks out, you know, that's one fire call.
That's right.
If I go out on mutual aid to a fire, if I send 3 trucks, 1 fire call.
I think, does everybody agree with that plan? We've asked Chief Neal to put it on their agenda at the next meeting, association talk about it, and then bring it back to us. And maybe in the meantime, Chris, y'all can be thinking up some ideas on how to track all that good stuff. I think Gage said he needed some extra work anyway, so. All right, we're gonna move on to item E, the Fire and Rescue Memorial. So that'll be me. And I apologize for being kind of unprepared. Just a couple hours before this meeting, I got this phone call, but we have found a piece of property. It's located across from the public safety building. I don't have the exact address. I do somewhere wrote down at home, but it's at the old Armory, right across from the Pennsylvania County Public Safety Building, right up the road here. And that is where we are going to attempt to locate our Fire and Rescue Memorial. We are still working with the design phase. It's a company, architecture firm out of Forest, Virginia. But she needs, obviously, what the piece of property is going to be and all that stuff to put anything on paper. So I brought it up to Chris Slimp, our committee, Chris Key, Coleman Mayhew, Troy Tolley, Scott Hutcherson, Dean Fowler. We all met. We brought it up to Chris Slimp. He took it to the county's executive team. They did have some questions, not really concerns, but some questions they need answered. But he said it would be appropriate to go ahead and have this body make a motion to ask the board to let us, allow us to use that property so that they could go ahead and vet it and push it through. And then we will work on answering those questions. It's their property, so if they have stipulations, then we'll have to meet those, and that, you know, I see no issues with that. So that's what I got, and I will make that motion for the commission to send a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors allowing the usage of the property at the old Armory building for a Fire and Rescue Memorial as long as they meet the stipulations.
Second.
Second by J.D. Brown. All right, any discussion on the motion?
Just one question. So you think it would be better for the memorial to be across from public safety rather than in the main part of Chatham?
So we talked about, and guys, Chris, Scott, Coleman, y'all help me out, but we talked about a lot of where to put this, and the issue is space and having a place that it can be easily visible, because we want the public, we want them to be proud of it as well. And that's on Main Street. It is kind of going out of Main Street, but it's still right here on Main Street. There's ample parking there, and the other concern and this is one of the things the county had, we're early on in this, but who's going to maintain it once it's done? The Sheriff's Memorial, if I'm not misspeaking, and if I am, I apologize, is maintained by the county. That's kind of our hopes, but we still got to talk to logistics and stuff on that, and obviously it's in the town of Chatham as well, but how it's going to be maintained once we get it erected and it's there. So, which we wanted to try to stay Chatham area because it's central located for the county as well. We didn't feel like it would be fair to go any other really direction. But if you go down Main Street Chatham, it's just not a lot of room anywhere to put it. And we really didn't want to, we kind of talked about the ball fields down here. But we said, is that really appropriate, a memorial at a ball field? Some say yes, some say no. But so that's how we got to that. But we would gladly entertain if anybody else had any other property they could think of that would allow us to utilize it. Any other further questions? All right, roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland,
Yes.
Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen, and I will try my best to get some stuff finally moving so we can present to you guys. Like I said, we have a drawing of, it's actually a memorial out west that we want to mimic ours to, but make it our own. And we had a presentation we've already, the firm done for us, but this was another step in the right direction, given that the board approves it. And once that gets going, hopefully we can bring some stuff back and let y'all see the progress. So, all right, any other, we're going to move to matters of the commissioners. So we're going to start to my left over here, Chief Neal.
No.
All right. Mr. Rowland, Ward Rowland.
Nothing.
All right. Tim Cazale.
No.
All right. Mr. Ingram. No, sir. I'm good. Thank you, sir. Steve Stallings.
I'm
Yes.
good, thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Shields.
Just a special thanks to the men and women that serve in our county every day, the volunteers, public safety. Just much appreciated, and thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayhew. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna do you right before me.
Okay.
Go back to the side. Director Key.
Nothing, sir.
All right. Mr. Brown.
Nothing at this time.
All right. Mr. Casper.
I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I am disappointed that we did not get to hear from Sova Danville about the issue of EMS diversions tonight. Hopefully next month they will see fit to meet with us on that, because that does affect every agency in this county. Not just it's a ripple effect from the south end to the north end when these daily diversions occur. So hopefully next month we will hear from them.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sellers.
I'd like to thank Mr. Mills and Mr. Carroll and Robbie Woodall for coming tonight and making the presentation they did. It was a big help knowing that we've got something going on that's going to help the city and the county.
Yes, sir. Mr. Holly.
Nothing at this time.
All right. Mr. King, back to you.
Yes. First off, thank the Danville Life Saving Crew for coming out and sharing that program with us. Also, I'd like to congratulate the ones that got promoted in public safety. Thank you. That's all.
All right. Thank you, sir. So, yeah, just to repeat some of what was just said, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'd like to say a special thank you to our volunteers. You men and women do a service that, you know, we can't give you enough thank yous for, and I wish we had all the money in the world to make everything perfect, but we do appreciate you. I want to thank your public safety staff. Chris does get beat up on sometimes, but we do appreciate him. Congratulations to Scott Hutcherson on his new position. It's well deserved, and Gage Randall on his new position. Wish you guys well. I would like to thank Chief Neal. I know his time's kind of coming down to an end, but I'm sure we'll continue to see him. He is stepping away this year, finishing out his term and stepping away as the vice president of the association. And it will be Mr. Matt Hunt will be the next vice president to fill that role. But Chief Neal's been in it a long time. He's done a lot of good for a lot of people in this county. And so thank you, Chief Neal, for being there. And like I said, we hope to continue seeing you here. I'd also like to, again, congratulate Matt Hunt. I'm sure he'll do a good job. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors. I think that last year, sometimes we get disconnected or we form opinions or whatever, things get said. But I do thank those guys. They got a really tough job, really hard job to try to please an entire county, right? Not just us, but an entire county. And things have been kind of rocky, but it did seem like tonight that I watched the meeting, the open session part of it before I could come here, and it seemed like they found some common ground, and that was at least a step in the right direction. And so I want to say thank you to you guys and for what you do for us. And we appreciate you letting us, they put us here, allowing us to come and try to better our fire and rescue in this county. And also I'd just like to say that the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, several people from this county participated in that. That was turned out great event down there. Mike and his guys, public safety, they all did a good job backing up I did work it for 4 days. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I worked it for 4 days, 12 to 14 hours a night. So next year I may just buy a ticket. But thank you to the ones that helped with that. And I want to give one last update. Mr. Thomas Page, I told you about him. He was a firefighter of ours that was run over by a vehicle, and it left him in critical shape. He actually passed away on the scene, was revived by EMS. He was flown to Norfolk Trauma Center. He has now been moved to a nursing home in Lynchburg. He is care dependent, but, you know, God can move mountains if you believe. They said he would never walk again. Well, he actually was walking this week with the help of a walker. And they said he probably would never be able to communicate again. Well, he can communicate, and he's talking. He has his days where sometimes he don't know, you know, exactly everything that's going on, remember everything, but he has his days also that it's Tommy. And so we just continue to ask for prayers for that family. And thank you for everybody that came out to the fundraiser we did for him. We raised almost $9,000, and that was several agencies from the north end. So we appreciate them. Thank you, guys. That's all I got. Motion to adjourn.